this on YouTube. So, my name is Tito. How are you guys doing? This is my review of my MAGfest mono grass team, as I was the grass stream leader at MAGfest this year for the MAGfest Pokemon League. I was fortunate enough to do that overall. I have my record right here. My overall record was 28 and 17. 28 and 17. So basically 2-1 record, which was pretty good. I'm also including their multi-battles. I'm counting those as 2 battles, and I had 6 multi-battles, so I'm counting those as 2 battles because I fought two separate trainers. But if you take those out, I did lose one of those. But overall, I had a pretty positive record. I feel like I did very well considering the limitations of my team. And hopefully this review is going to tell you guys kind of what I did as far as team building, what I feel like I can improve on, because there were definitely some 2 specific things I could have researched more, I could have improved a little bit more, but I think like overall I had a really good core and some really good gimmicks that I wasn't really able to use, but you know, but let's get into it. So like I said, this is the MAGfest Pokemon League Challenges. For those of you guys who don't know, at MAGfest, the MAGfest Pokemon League is organized and has specific rules. This is obviously the first iteration of it, using Sun and Moon, and the rules were VGC Light, with the exception of you were not allowed to use Tapus or Ultra Beasts. That's mainly the biggest change. So no one was allowed to use Tapus or Ultra Beasts, but everything else under the VGC banner was legal. So here is my team. Obviously, the addition of Tapu Bulu and Kartana would have made my team incredibly strong. It would have probably taken up the slots of Executor and Trevenant. However, those weren't options for me. I digress. This is my team. My team is Decidueye, Serena, Whimsicott, Dhelmise, Executor, Alolan Form, and Trevenant. So we're going to break it down each individual Pokemon real quick, talk about the role they play in my team, the impact they had overall on my record, and kind of if I would make any real changes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Hoodie Ellen, my Decidueye. This guy, I would have to say, was tied for MVP of my team for the entire weekend. This guy was putting in so much work. The EV build is just adamant 252 HP, and then max HP, max attack, and for the rest into special defense. My build was Spirit Shackle, Leaf Blade, U-Turn, Protect, and I rocked Deciduum Z on it, which I feel like was an incredibly clutch thing that I put on there, because the Sinister Arrow Raid did so much damage. I believed it only did not OHKO once, maybe twice, but for sure only once, possibly a second time that I'm not recalling. But man, this thing put in so much work all weekend. It was a staple. I brought it every turn. There was not a battle I didn't bring this thing. It was doing so much damage. The ghost typing really helped me against certain Pokemon like Marowak. It was able for me. It was able for me to OHKO any Marowak, and if I crit, I didn't even need the Deciduum Z if that wasn't available to me. If I had already used it previously in the battle, it was Leaf Blade was also really good at getting rid of Gastrodons, doing neutral damage to a bunch of fighting types. The only problem I have with this Pokemon is that I didn't really have anything to do with Intimidators. And I was debating between U-Turn or Sucker Punch. In retrospect, I probably would have actually put out Sucker Punch for some priority. You know, its move pool is not the greatest, but it's definitely not awful by any stretch of imagination. So basically my options for a third attack were between Sucker Punch and U-Turn, but I decided to go with the U-Turn. And in retrospect, I think the Sucker Punch would have probably been a better idea. But overall, this was a tie, if not my MVP, for the entire weekend. Possibly tied with Chun-Li, my Serena, Life Orb Serena right here. We got Drop Kick, U-Turn, High Jump Kick, and Protect. And on the EV side, I'm running 252, max HP, max attack, with the rest in speed, just to outspeed any min speed Pokemon with also base 72. The 98 special defense and defense put in a lot of work all weekend. This thing was taking hits from it seeming like where it shouldn't have. The only problem with the Serena that, to be honest, I might go ahead and breed a VGC one, is I would definitely trade out U-Turn for Play Rough, which is an egg move, but I just did not have the time to do it. So if I was going to make this team all over again and I had an extra couple of days, I would have definitely gotten Play Rough on my Serena because I felt like that would have saved me a lot of trouble because I didn't really have anything to do with Dragon types. Salamence was almost an auto-lose for me. It was just a very difficult situation whenever I saw Salamence. But my Delmise was luckily able to take care of them most of the time. But if I had this Play Rough, it would have been a much easier time. The Life Orb Drop Kick doing big damage. High Jump Kick, I didn't miss a single High Jump Kick all weekend. Like, I made it a point, like, if I didn't miss a single one, and I was smart enough to have, not, like, all of them walked. Literally all of them walked. And I was able to OHKO almost anything, including Porygon 2. It was insane. So, Chun-Li, Hoodie Allen, definitely two of the MVPs. Mount Vernon is my Whimsicott. Focus Sash Whimsicott. I messed with the build until maybe the last day. I had no idea what I wanted to do with this, but this is what I ended up with. 252 HP, 4 in defense, and the rest in speed. I believe that is correct. Yeah, that should be correct. 250. But I will go back on this just to double check, just to make sure, because that doesn't sound 100% right to me. Because I did feel like I changed it last minute. Like I said, I was changing this thing ever. So I will go ahead and move this until the end here, and we'll go back. So here we go, the Assault Vest. This thing was basically my universal Pokemon to check anything I had a problem with. Fairy types, poison types, flying types, dragon types, kind of depending on the dragon. Mainly Salamence. If this thing was my win condition against the majority of those Pokemon, Ice types, Assault Vest Delmise, man, this guy's insane. HP, max HP, max attack, 4 in special defense with Assault Vest. Anchor Shot, Rock Slide, Earthquake, Shadow Claw. This thing was tanking hits all day, especially when I put up the late screen with my Delmise. This thing was not dying at all. And, you know, at the end of the day, this thing won me a lot of games. It was able to effectively get rid of almost every, if not every single, Alolan Ninetales that we saw. So it was awesome. I'm really happy that I brought it. This thing was a clear win. This is definitely a VGC kind of build. This is exactly what I would run in VGC if I was going to run this Pokemon. This Pokemon is actually pretty decent because it checks a lot of the fairy types and has really good. It's a really good diverse move pool. I mean, Rock Slide and Earthquake, that's pretty good to cover all of its weaknesses. So, Delmise, definitely a really good Pokemon. Executor, this thing, you know, I brought it. Mainly what ended up happening is that it ended up being a thing that I used for Trick Room. To, like, at least have something that would work if my opponent was bringing Trick Room. Shout out to my boy Ian, he gave me this build. I think if I had a better option, I wouldn't even use Alolan Executor at all, but I didn't, so here it is. 228 in HP, 192 in defense, 4 in special attack, 84 in special defense, and with a quiet nature, so it was still doing a decent amount of damage. With a Harvest, Yachi Berry. Again, I was running Sun a lot for the double Harvest I was running my team, but that ended up being awful, so I didn't run that. This Pokemon just ended up being a little bit mediocre. Definitely not the worst Pokemon on my team. We'll get into that in a second. But, you know, didn't really do much all weekend. So, but, you know, it happens. This is definitely the Pokemon that had the littlest impact on my team overall. I think I brought it maybe once, if not at all. Professor Oak, my Trevenant. Horn Leech, Earthquake, Leech Seed Substitute was the build with a Citrus Berry with Harvest. Max HP, max special defense, 4 in attack. With a careful nature. This thing was, you know, definitely not. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. This is an adamant nature. That's what I figured. So definitely not at all really good because I'm already running 2 ghost types, grass ghost types that are physical. So this thing really didn't do anything. It didn't bring anything to the table that wasn't already covered by anybody else on my team, which is mainly why it was definitely the weak link on my team. Most scenarios I didn't even consider bringing it, and even if I did, I came to the conclusion that anybody on my team would have done a better job doing whatever it decided to do. So unfortunately, this guy was the weak link on my team, and, you know, it happens. And finally, sorry. Here we are, back with the Mount Vernon. So the EV spread I'm running on Mount Vernon is a little weird. This guy's a little... I just want to make sure. There we go. There we go. That's exactly what I want. Yep. Yeah. So... this isn't max HP, but I don't think it matters, but let's assume. 252 in HP, 44 in defense, so we could live certain hits, but it's running a focus sash anyway. So in retrospect, I probably would have put it on special attack, because at the start I wasn't running focus sash, I was running a heat rock, because again I was running a sun team. But by the end of it, I decided to run a focus sash. So if I knew that originally, I would have put more investment into a special attack. That way, the Moonblast is more of a threat. And then the 212 into speed, that way it would outspeed a lot of the stuff, even without Prankster. This Pokemon was also brought to almost every battle. None of the multi-battles I brought this, I don't think. I was messing with the build a lot. I don't remember, I haven't really played with Whimsicott in a very long time. The only problem with this is that it doesn't have Encore. Encore is an egg move, I didn't have time to breed it. So, but I also realized that, you know, when I think about all my battles, I don't think there was maybe more than 5 scenarios where Encore would have been good. Taunt ended up being way better against a majority, against Arcanines, against Porygons, against Orangurus, against sometimes against Ninetales. So this Pokemon is like very malleable as far as like you're able to run a bunch of stuff on it. But I felt like for me, Tailwind, Taunt, Light Screen, Moonblast was definitely a really good set for it. I just wish I could have gone back and restored some of the EVs, because I definitely would have put more investment into special attack. I would have taken all of it on for defense, put it all on special attack, is probably what I would have done. I'm just going to quick go over the problems my Sun team. I really only had 2 auto losses and maybe 3. The three of them, Torkoal was my auto loss. I had nothing against Torkoal. I have no water types. Earthquake would never OHKO it. That's why I had to run Light Screen, but even then, it still was able to sweep my whole team. So I only saw a Torkoal, fortunately for me, 2 to 4 times, but every time I did, I lost. It was just, I had nothing for it. Alolan Ninetales was very 60-40, maybe 70-30 in favor of the Ninetales for me, in theory, but in execution, I was able to effectively get rid of it with Anchor Shot most of the time, and a double up on it. That way it couldn't get off Blizzards, it couldn't get off Aurora Veils, because I also had the Taunt. So, you know, that always depended on the lead. If I led better than them, then I was able to get rid of this before anything got started. I was able to effectively get rid of it, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. Salamence was also a really big auto loss for me, because I had really nothing to do with it outside of Rock Slide, and if I got burned or something happens, or I got intimidated specifically, because all of them were running Intimidate, you know, I was getting kind of jacked. So I had no access to ice moves except Hidden Power Ice, which I didn't have on any of my Pokemon. So Salamence was a pretty big loss for me. And then the last Pokemon is actually Mimikyu. Mimikyu ended up being a pretty big problem for me, just because most of them were running Focus Sash, and it was just like I didn't have any multi-hit moves to break the disguise, plus break whatever, and it was just annoying. It wasn't an auto lose at all. It was very 50-50. So it went 100-0 auto loss to about 70-30 to about 60-40 and to about 50-50. Pokemon I did really well against. I did really well against every Metagross I saw. Every Metagross I saw lost by a lot, mainly because I had 3 Ghost types and I was able to nuke it with a Z move, with Deciduum Z. So anybody that brought this, almost always, actually I don't think I lost to a single Mega Metagross the entire time. So that was pretty good. And yeah, so that's my team for this year. Overall, I felt like this is definitely the weakest team I've ever made. I have my good core of Decidueye, Serena, Delmise, and Whimsicott.